talk about something that took me a very long time to name. I was made to be the wrong one when very often I was the discerning one. And I know a lot of people listening will recognize this, not because you're cynical or guarded or broken, but because you've learned to trust your body, your perception in a world that often doesn't reward that. So, for most of my life, when I slowed down, when I needed space, when I questioned something that didn't feel right, I was framed as the problem. I was told I was avoidant, I was too guarded, I was afraid of intimacy, making things complicated, but now what I see is that I wasn't confused. I was accurately perceiving misalignment, essentially. And naming misalignment tends to destabilize systems that rely on your compliance. So, the distinction that clarified years of confusion for me was that there's a difference between intimacy and access. Most people say they want intimacy, but what they often mean is more proximity, more availability, more reassurance, more emotional or sexual access. That's not intimacy, that's access. What intimacy actually means to me is it means more trust, it means more safety, more care, more attunement, more protection of what's vulnerable, more respect for autonomy. And so, in other words, the closer that we are, the more careful we are with each other. So, when someone said to me in a relationship that they wanted more intimacy but became destabilized when I needed to take care of myself and have some alone time, my body noticed that they became destabilized, and they thought that more intimacy was more time together, more basically codependence. But what actually threatened them was my need to slow down and tend to myself, and not distance, not withdrawal, just self-care, and communicating that and being very thoughtful about how I communicated that. But their reaction told me everything I needed to know, because real intimacy is not threatened by autonomy. Only entitlement is. So discernment does a few inconvenient things because it slows momentum, it interrupts fantasy, it asks the question, at what cost? It refuses urgency. It prioritizes the body over a narrative. And in many systems, religious systems, patriarchal systems, relational systems, those qualities are dangerous. So discernment actually gets labeled as fear or withholding or coldness or avoidance or being difficult, especially in women. One of the clearest signals I've learned to trust is this: if someone relates to you primarily through appetite, like sexual, emotional, or otherwise, they will struggle to stay connected when access is limited or reduced. That doesn't make them evil, but it does mean the relationship isn't neutral. And because true friendship isn't threatened by boundaries. True friendship doesn't require constant access. True friendship doesn't interpret self-care as rejection or neglect. Only consumption does. So at some point, my nervous system reached completion. It said, no more regulating other people's needs, no more managing expectations, no more being interpreted instead of known, no more being wrong for protecting myself. That wasn't bitterness, that was just clarity. So I think when I think about what the reframe helped me, that healed me, was I wasn't broken, I wasn't wrong. I wasn't too much. I was early and I was precise. And I was refusing false versions of intimacy. Discernment isn't fear. Discernment is care. And if you've been told that you're avoidant, that you're guarded, that you're difficult, that you're afraid of closeness, when your body is actually saying, this isn't safe, this costs too much, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not failing at connection. You're refusing counterfeit closeness. And that's not something to fix. There are relationships that deepen with trust, and there are relationships that demand access. Your body knows the difference. And if you've been made to feel like the problem, for honoring that knowing, you weren't wrong. You were discerning. So, my friend, as always, stay wild, stay sovereign, and stay untamed. And don't negotiate your way of knowing.